All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I am your host, Dee Bailey, and I am so excited for us to be back for another episode. This is episode three of Talks with V's Love and Marriage. And so we're super excited about this evening's guest. Before we get into it, we want to do a little housekeeping rules. And if you are not already subscribed to our channels, we want you to go ahead and subscribe to the at V Bailey channel on YouTube, as well as the HBCU Lounge Network's YouTube channel. And then you can click the bell so that you can see any upcoming content that we have, any videos, interviews, all of that good stuff. You don't want to miss it. And so, without further ado, I have two special guests that are very close to me. They're actually my personal friends. They're my family, pretty
Yes.
much. And so, I'm super excited to have them tonight for this wonderful conversation and just to learn from other married couples about marriage. And so I'm happy that you guys agreed to come on and share your love story. So welcome, Sarah and Johari.
We're glad to be
Glad to be
here.
here.
Thank you, V.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, of course. So we're going to go ahead and get into but first before we go into the real questions. We want to know who you all are. I mean, obviously, I know you and love you guys, but the audience does not. So if Sarah, you can go for it first and just tell them who you are, what
Yeah,
you do, where you're from.
for sure. Well, my name, first of all, is Sarah Mason, and my profession is human resources. I'm a talent acquisition manager for a marketing and advertising firm. And I've been recruiting, doing corporate recruitment for over 15 years now, which is my passion, is getting people into the right job and finding the right position, of course, for them. I'm originally I was born in Miami. I have a very complex where I'm from question. Is always complicated. I was born in Miami because my father's from Miami. My mom is from LA. And so I was born in Miami, moved to Dallas when I was about 6 years old for about 4 years. And
Mm.
then my mom and dad divorced. And so then we were trying to move to LA. And if you know anything about the 80s in LA, it was lots of gang activity, lots of girls. So my mom said no. And my uncle was in Fresno, California. And so that's where we ended up in 1989 in Fresno, California. And was there, yep, whoop, whoop, the no. And then we were there until one day I just had an awakening and I was like, I want to move somewhere. And I was like, Dallas, I'm familiar. And so my dad still lived in Dallas. And so I made the decision to move in 2006 to Dallas, Texas. And that's where I've been since then.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Jay?
I am Jahari Mason, and I am originally from Fresno, California. Born and raised. I lived in a few other cities, but mainly Fresno was home. And then I decided to go ahead and take a job as a defense contractor and move to Texas. And that was just a little over 13 years ago.
Wow.
Been in Texas ever since. But yeah, California's home, but Texas is now home, and I'm happy to be here. But yeah, so as far as like my line of work, I'm a field service manager for a company, a truck manufacturing company. So pretty much what I do is I just go around and just kind of cover all the dealerships and franchises and just kind of see if they're on the up and up and so forth, and just provide services to them. But I've been in the automotive and the truck industry for over 20 years, and that's my passion pretty much. Anything with wheels, anything that could fly, anything that's on rails,
Yes.
floats, all of it. I just love anything that's motor powered.
Yep.
So awesome, awesome. Well, that leads us to our next question, one that everyone is so curious about when you meet couples, and that is, how did you all meet?
Well,
Well, so coming from Fresno, both of us being there, we didn't technically know each other. We knew of each other.
Okay.
Sarah's best friends with one of my cousins. And so, we would see each other on occasion. I worked at a car dealership at one point. Sarah had came through there a couple times. I seen her, she seen me. I was like, who's that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we never really ran in the same social
Mhm.
circles. Then you fast forward a few years after I leave California and move to Texas, I noticed that she was here in Texas. So I was just like, you know what, let me reach out to her just because I'm gonna go check out Dallas. I came to Dallas a couple times by myself, didn't really know anybody, didn't necessarily. I had a cool time. I met, you know, some really cool people and stuff like that, but just wasn't like the time, you know.
Right.
So then I reached out to her and I was just like, hey, what is there? What can I get into in Dallas? And she was like, you want to come out here? Just let me know. All right. Message.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
Yep, I was in the.
Oh, because you weren't living here at that time yet.
He was in Texarkana.
I was living in
still.
Texarkana. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Okay. I was like, I remember vaguely that you lived in another city. I just couldn't remember which one.
Right. Yeah. So I was living in Texarkana at the time. I did leave that part out. And
Okay.
so, you know, one particular weekend, I just told her, I said, I'm coming out there. And, you know, she was like, okay, great. I'll show you a good time. And we'll go ahead and, you know, go out, hang out and all that. You're going to have to pardon our little fur baby.
No. Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I feel like that's kind of an in, you know, when someone lives, when you kind of like know them, but you're you're interested and they live somewhere, you're like, oh, I might be in town, or I was thinking about coming here. It's like the in without being too forward, you know.
I encourage fellas, getting those DMs is not bad to do that.
Slide into the DMs. Just come correct.
Slide in.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
And so that it really started off, just to be clear though, we met, that was in 2013.
Yeah.
And so we were friends for many years before anything. So I will say that was a big part of how we got here today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Friendship was pretty much our basis, and then it just went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so nice when it starts that way because there's like no pressure, and you get to kind of just authentically, you know, get to know each other. So love that. Okay, so our next question is, how did you know that your spouse was the one?
Well, everybody does their box checking.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, we all as women, you know, we're probably the biggest boxes and the most, probably a lot more than men. Okay, let's be clear. We have a lot more boxes than men. But for me, I knew that we got married later in life. And so I had experienced relationships, and the reasons why those ended was really what I was looking for in my husband, right? Because for me, it was stability, you know, someone who I could trust to lead me, and then also just, you know, a good guy, like, you know, all those things that we talk about, you know, 6 feet and, you know, he needs to have, you know, a 6-pack, and he needs to, you know, make 6 figures. You know, we're a 666 crew, you know, as women. We got to have those sixes somewhere in there. So it's like after, you know, you kind of get to a certain age, you have a different focus. And so for me, those were the things that were important. Just that person that was, you know, was raised right? That was a good guy who treated me as a gentleman, which he always did when we were dating. He was consistent. I always tell women, look for consistency. And so when it was time, and I prayed about it, major thing for me, I'm someone who prays about any big decision I make, and this is definitely a big one. When I pray and ask God to show me signs that he was the one. And I always look for 3 validation, usually, as I call them. And when you pray, a lot of times God gives us the signs, but we're not still enough to hear them. And so I wanted to be still enough to hear those. And it came through friends. It came through people that knew him. I did my own research, being the HR person that I am. Back, you know, Google.
Some good references.
Yeah, good. I didn't check the references. I treated just the same, right? Because presentation, people usually show them their best self. And so for me, it was important to see who he truly was, the good, the bad, and the amazing. So those were important. So that's kind of my you know, what made me know he was the one after all of that.
Okay.
For me, some of my instincts were just how easy it was to just be around her and be with her. There was no complication or anything like that. No hard pressing, like, I want this, I want to do this, and I want this, and this, and da 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 da. You're just like,
It's like, get that.
Make me happy. My happiness relies on you. And, there wasn't any of that. And I want to be married now and 2 kids. And it was just, it was just so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too, just throughout our friendship, that's what made it easy for me to fall in love with her. As my friend. And then I was just like, okay, I'm really kind of thinking about this whole marriage thing now. I like her.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. I love her.
Yeah.
I love her a lot.
Yeah.
You just start. For us guys though, it's fairly simple, and you just look at the way she is with her family. Her being the older sibling, I mean, she's exercised care with each and every one of them. And just it's straightforward,
Right.
If you want that result of, trying to coach somebody along, like those things, that this is what she does,
Yeah.
Whenever I would ask her certain questions, or she would just bring me along real quick. There's no, no, it's just boom, right there to the point, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, I can make a decision based off of that. Just in life in general, you kind of want somebody to give you that balance. For me, I could be indecisive, not gonna lie. So, she provides that balance for me. Those are just some of the things. Again, checkbox.
Yeah.
Easy to do, brother.
I remind him of his mom. That's what it was.
Yeah, I was kind of like that.
That's pretty much it.
Mason.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting because you can come from 2 different backgrounds, right? And then still like have those things that remind you of home. That's what I think is really interesting with couples, is how you can come from different backgrounds, but somehow this person comes into your life being raised a little, maybe, kind of differently, right? But they make you feel at home. And it's just like, oh, this is my home, not the home, that I came from, but the home that makes me feel like, home, safe, and, like this is where I want to be. So I think that's really, really, really dope. And it kind of leads into the next question, which is, did you marry who you thought you would marry? Because, we've had those conversations, right, about me and you, Sarah, about the whole, I like bad boys before. And, and I think a lot of times we have this set person in our mind, like I'm gonna marry this guy. He's gonna be tall, dark, and handsome. And when you marry a light-skinned, chubby, short man, and that's the man of your dreams that you didn't know. So
no, I would say that I didn't marry what I ideally went for many years of my life. But as I grew, I think that he's who I grew into, right? So my ideal is him, right? But how I got there was through a journey of a lot of people who were what I thought I wanted, right? But when you look at what you need, that takes you the distance, right? So those are 2 different things, right? For me, friendship has always been something, but also, the fact that, I didn't have to with him, I didn't have to put on. I felt like a lot of relationships I had to be, because I'm very independent. I'm very, some people may say bossy, and I'm very like that person who gets things done. And he's the calm to my crazy, right? I needed that balance. I can't be with another, outgoing
just like what?
Right. Exactly. We're never going to get a big purpose together, right? So it's like, when I think about it, I'm like, it's the perfect combination. I feel we both are for each other, because when I looked at what I had dated in the past, I felt those people were good for right now. I could not see them 20 years from now. And I had to be honest with that. And so that's really what made me very okay with some of the things I had on my checklist that were so minute and small compared to the big picture. Right. So yeah.
No, I love it.
So for me, I would say from a guy's perspective, appearance wise, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
First.
Okay, I do like this real quick. Yeah. yeah, that was the instant obvious, but the what she brought into me, what she poured into me
Mhm.
to make me more conscious of as a boyfriend at the time,
Yeah.
then a fiance, and then coming into being a husband,
Mhm.
also even as a father, just things that she just made me think about that I just kind of like had like either a different perspective of, or I just wouldn't see somebody else's perspective. I was kind of being stubborn on certain things, and she just kind of helped me just say, "Hey, look, like those are the things that I looked for that I needed." So that's what kind of just drew me even further in to just say, you know what, this is the woman for me.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
what she pushes me to do. And then of course, we have a slamming good time. You already know that.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's funny because like Sarah is she's probably a little bit more late,
Yeah.
and but you are too, and you guys just have a good time, together.
Yes.
It's I love it. It's just like you said, that balance and
Yes.
complimenting you. Like I always think about that because y'all know, like I'm like crazy loud, I love to talk and stuff like that. So I'm just like, who would I end up marrying? Like he gonna have to be calmer because
Mom.
I'm
Yes.
here, and I need
Yes.
him to be like somewhere down here so we can meet in the middle.
Yes.
And people don't be kicking us out of their house like they are just too much together.
She's just
Yeah.
impressive. You know what I mean? Like just the little things that I've seen her do, like sports conversations.
Oh
are the
yeah.
best.
Don't get me started.
They
She'll
literally
play
are the
about her
best.
Cowboys.
Right. Well,
Exactly.
you know me. I'm not really a sports cat like that. You know what I mean? I'm a gearhead. So to hear her, like, she has stats that just pour out of her mind like a sports almanac. And
Wow.
to hear her in debates,
It's awesome. It turns them on, I think.
it kind of does. She holds her ground, and I just be like,
Because she's so hot,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the
He's
combination.
like, oh my God, I love when you told that guy off. I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so in what ways would you say that your partner has made you better?
Good question.
Yeah.
I would say that Johari is slowly, I'm a process, right? We all have our
Mhm.
things, but
Yeah.
I think he's first of all, he's taught me how to be more nurturing and
Mm.
listen more. I talk a lot, and people that talk a lot need to learn how to listen, and that's active listening. That's not like, I hear you, and you already got your thoughts created,
Mhm.
right? And you've already got your next answer. It means actively listening, because then you can maybe catch other things
Mhm.
in that conversation with someone. And so he's taught me to be more nurturing, um, more understanding, because not everyone has always the information needed to make good decisions, for example. And then he's just a good balance. Like I said, I'm very like, let's go, let's go. Every weekend I have 10 things for us to do. And he's like, I have 3 things to do, and I will be at home, right? So so he keeps me like, okay, we need to just not have a day of just back-to-back events and things to do. So this is a good balance. He's helping me relax after so
Yes.
being a single parent, of just always being the person who has to make things happen in my
Yeah.
family and within my friend groups. He's just let me know, you can say no, Sarah. You can't go today. It's okay. They will see you next time. So
Right.
but I think he's brought into my life, right? So that's very important as you get older, especially. So.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it is that more like the go getter. She pushes that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I see certain opportunities. I'm like, okay, I probably should strike on this because she reminds me that if you're constantly thinking about something, then that means you obviously need to do something with it.
Right. Right.
And those are the things that she has said to me. She probably doesn't remember even saying it to me. She'll shoot something out at you, and then it's a good piece of advice. She probably doesn't remember saying it, but I'll take it. Me, I just kind of I take a lot of the things that she says in consideration and take it in my file cabinet, and I always go back and reference those things.
Mm.
But yeah, like that, and then just being more organized.
It's a guy thing.
There's certain things that I'm organized with, like, other little things, but then there's other aspects where I'm just like, nah, I'm just not gonna. So she brings that value. There's so many different things that she hits on, but she's made me better as a man to really know that I am good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that is something that I know a lot of things. We do battle with that.
Yeah.
So to get that reminder from my wife as a reminder, and then I can go out to the world and tell the world, like, yeah, no, I'm straight. I'm just fine.
Right. I'm a man because my wife says so.
Worthy.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. It's just, you know what I mean? There is a constant crowning that she does, you know what I mean? That she probably doesn't realize that she does, but she does.
I love that.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm like, write that down.
Write it down.
Yes, but I love that so much because what I'm hearing is how you have what each other needs.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times people don't really think about that when they're picking a partner. They pick them for the things that stimulate them right now, but not being aware, right? Because when you're self-aware, you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, and you know where it is you want to go, right? What your goals are, what your vision is. And the important piece when you're picking a partner, is to know how do they add to that? Like, how will they come and work with me and I can work with them and I have the key, to unlock those doors in them, the stuff that because you guys both have that in you, but it just maybe not be unlocked. And I think that it's really beautiful to see that you all figure that out. It's like, you're unlocking these parts of me that were there, but I didn't know, and now I get better because you do that for me.
Correct.
I love that. I think that's
really
sweet. And that crowning, what?
Yeah, that was a good one right there. He did that.
You're doing your job, girl.
Hey.
I love it. So what would you say some of the things that you learned about marriage that no one ever shared with you? So I know that you guys are a blended family, right? And I'm not sure, Sarah, were you ever married before?
Both our first times.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that, so like, what would you say, like, what did you learn that no one told you about marriage?
Well, I do know that I would say that for myself, I did a lot of research and I love stories of love stories. I watch a lot of reality shows that showcase love, as well as just books that I've read. And then my background, I didn't mention this, but my degree is in sociology. And one of the attractions to sociology is the study of people in institutions.
Yeah.
And so there is actually studies on behaviors. And so, one of the things I knew before going into marriage is no matter what a man tells you, watch what he does. I knew that for years, right? So I listen to someone, but I also watch what they do. Right. And so for me, it was more of when I got married, we were older. So I knew myself a lot. I was very clear on my strengths and weaknesses, right? But what they don't tell you, even when you're clear on your strengths and weaknesses and you know who you are, right? Because I think that's half the battle of marriage, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that he couldn't make me happy if I wasn't already happy. So there was no need for him to come in to save me, right?
Right.
But I still felt that coming together, I hadn't lived with anyone since I was in my 20s. And let me tell you, and when we moved in together, that was the hardest part. The way that we actually operate, how we pay bills, that was the harder for us, being that we were older when we got married and we were having to combine. Changing my name after 40 years, we didn't even know what it affected. I didn't know what it affected. I had to go and redo all kind of paperwork.
Like all these forms.
I was like, what? I got to fill out another form? I should just kept my name. Oh my gosh.
Over the bridge.
It was a lot. All your bank accounts, all your, these small things you don't even think about. Like, I'm going to change my name, new passport.
Social security.
Social security card. I had to go get that. So it was just like, that is what I did not know. And no one over the age of any age told me that. So
Mhm.
that was more startling. I felt like on the emotional and mental side, I was ready. But on
Yeah.
the physical, like living together and the changes it made for just, my life.
Everything that you have established already. Really.
Established already. And then in Texas, we didn't find about the laws in Texas. Like everything is mine. If I sign paperwork, you got to sign it.
Right.
There's nothing separate anymore.
Wow.
It's all together
Right.
in Texas.
Maybe I'm going to be learning that too.
Yes. Check the law.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. What was yours,
For
Viv?
me, well, I was a bachelor for a long time,
Yeah.
So not living with anybody, and just now to have to live with somebody again, and just the daily. I was contracting, so I was always gone a lot. Even throughout, the early part of our relationship, I was gone. She would come to where I was at, but then it would, I would have to come back home eventually, but it still wasn't like that day to day, and that was a tough one. Hey, stop that, girl. But that was an adjustment for me, and I think that we were able to eventually bring that together, but it took some time, and I mean there's still little things that we just kind of just like look at, and we're just like, okay. That's the way she does it. That's the way he does it. Got to get used to that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was our hardest thing, I think, for us. We were pretty good. Like I said, we were ready for it, right?
Right.
But even with that, we had some things that were unexpected along the way.
Right.
Grief, things
Yeah,
like
we had
that.
grief.
We had multiple deaths in our family, all kinds of different things. And those are the things that you just
That's
You
a
don't
lot.
you're not
prepare
prepared
for
for
it.
it. You can't. Nobody can be prepared for that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if you're not really in it, it could break you, too.
Yeah.
So that's real. And so I did this perfectly. Everything is just falling into each other as I realize it. Right? Or the way that you all are answering, it's perfect. But what would you say that keeps you guys together?
I would say our friendship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if we weren't friends and we didn't, and also not love, let's be clear. I always tell women, I don't care how much you love him. Do you like him? Because when you're upset, when you're not getting along, when you're not agreeing, what keeps us still in the same, house and still communicating is the like. I really like Jahari. I think he's a great guy. Like I said before, I think that he is someone who, if my daughter was dating someone, I want the characteristics that he has to be in that person. Like, he's a good person.
Right.
He believes in family. He believes in, he loves his coworkers and his job. He is that guy that everyone loves. Like Jahari, I've never met anybody that doesn't like Jahari. It's like, hey, I got some people that don't like me, but not Jahari. Everybody, his cousins, he's the best cousin to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that's that thing we go back to no matter what.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That friendship it's
Friendship.
important, it really is. And that liking them. You're right, because sometimes you're not gonna always like them. So that's where the love comes and balances that out. It's like, I don't like you right now, but I love you, so I will stay here and I will like you again.
Because people were stunned when Michelle Obama said she didn't like Obama for 10 years, but she didn't say she didn't love him. I was like, calm down. She just said,
Or chill.
she did not like him. And I get that. I get that. So it's okay.
It could have been like some personality traits that just kind of
it's different.
that perspective,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
it doesn't mean that you just back out completely and just be like,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, because some things you don't realize what's meant to work out in you, right?
Yes.
And you don't even realize it until you're dealing with someone that you love. And you're just like, oh, it's getting on my nerves. I would normally just be like, oh, but I can't do that, And once you work through that, it's that because it's that reflection. Your partner's that the mirror. You say that too many times. To Sarah in our table talk.
Yes. Truly, what you're getting is what you get.
Right. You two are like my big brother and sister, So I was like, listen, this is what's going on right now. So,
Yes.
well, And Jahari would be all calm and he'll be like, say what he's got to say. And I'll be like, ooh, okay, I got the balance now, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you
she's
guys,
definitely
too, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
What did you say?
no, I'm just saying, go ahead.
Oh, no, but I did want to ask, and I'm not for sure if I ever asked you guys this, if you guys did like couples therapy or like premarital counseling and stuff.
Yeah, we did. We did how many weeks?
I want to say
4, 6.
I think it was 4 weeks.
4 weeks of counseling, mostly because he was overseas. So ours was different. It was virtual.
Okay.
And it was through my cousin, who's a pastor in Bakersfield, California. And him and his wife have been married already for almost 20, I want to say 20 years already. And they're younger than us. So they'll tell you. They've been together a long time. And very spiritual based, right? God first. But also I felt like he was also young enough to know like the experiences. I feel like sometimes when you counsel about older people, they don't know the today and the things that we face today. They're a little out of touch. But one is someone who's used to today, right? But at the same time been married and could understand and give advice. And so we did a combination of answering questions, coming up with our vision for our lives, for our marriage, what we wanted to accomplish as a family. Like you said, we were a blended family. And we had 3 children between us. We both did not want additional children. You had to make sure that was correct. Because sometimes people go into premarital counseling with some major like holdups, like hurdles, like the fact that I might want children, he doesn't. That's major. That's not a simple like, we can make that work.
That was also a check in the box for both of us.
Yeah, we both checked that. We did not want children. Yes, we were clear. So that was stuff we went over, making sure we were on the same page. And how do we, when we're blending families, he made us read a book about blended families. And,
Okay, that's good.
That was his focus. It's like bringing 2 families together. The good thing is, as you know, we're from Fresno. So I knew his family, I knew his aunts, I knew his uncles, I knew his mom, who was, of course, in the women's ministry and over that when I was in Fresno. So I knew a lot about his family. So that also I think helps us too. We're kind of like cheating a little bit because we knew each other's family.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I wanted to ask about that too, because when you're talking about that long distance, you know, that's another thing that could be a hiccup, you know. So how did you guys work through that? I mean,
that was a challenge. That was a challenge.
Yeah,
but we missed each other, you know what I mean? But we we FaceTimed and you know, all that stuff, especially with me like being in Kuwait and stuff like that. I could get away from, you know, where I'm working at when I'm in the States, but being over there, I mean, that's a 14-hour flight. So I don't necessarily have those luxuries to like get away so easily. But you know, we just did various things. I mean, you know.
Gotta make it work.
Gotta make it work.
But I always you have to trust. There is a level of trust that you just have. You can't be insecure in the relationship and then do long distance. You definitely need to be secure as each other, have things to do outside of each other, have your own friend groups, have your own trips planned, really fill up your time. Right. So that's what we did. Yeah. Because you will have moments where you're like, oh, is it worth it? You know, like us being apart so much, you know, you start having those doubts. So you really have to know that the end goal is worth it. So make sure you're with someone who's worth the time, worth the effort, worth the lapse in seeing each other face to face. Touching the feel of it all. So
and that should be established pretty early on. If somebody's going to be worth that kind of time, worth that kind of that kind of time with each other, you know. You got to really establish that pretty early on, and most of the time you can.
No, that's good. That's good. So what about now that we talked about that tough stuff? What about your marriage brings you joy?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Give it to us.
Sex, man. I'm kidding. No, it is just knowing that I have somebody that's gonna have my back. You know, when I come home every day, you know, she's sitting on the couch. The dog is going crazy as soon as the garage door opens up. So that's like the first sign of like, you know, just the joy. And then she's sitting on the couch, she's like, "Hey, babe." It's the same way every single time. This person, you know, like those are just those sweet moments that I just really like to I like to absorb those and just kind of hold them right here, you know, in my heart because it's wonderful. Or, you know, just the simple things like, you know, her genuinely asking about how my day was, you know, me finding out what her day was like and just hearing her tell me stories because I do love to hear the gossip. I ain't gonna front. But, you know, it's just our overall connection, you know, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that this being together, because we weren't at the beginning of a relationship, just being together is like what brings me joy. We have a good time. We're always laughing. And we always have some stories or something going on at work or in our family. So it's always a good time. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, I can, you know, from what I witnessed too, what I love seeing is that, you know, you guys are like your friends, you know, and also too, just those moments, what'll be 5 years, right? This year?
Yes.
5 years. And you guys, you know, still like just embrace each other and hug each other, like in just random moments. It's like, oh, okay, like this is good because I don't know what's going on these days, you know, with relationships. And some people don't, like you said, like even really like each other. And so it's just, it's nice that you still want to touch each other and be close to each other, embrace each other. And you can just see and feel that love, you know, between you guys. And I think that that's what you want, right? You know, that's what we want. And so I think it's so important to, I would say for me, surround yourself around people who are where you want to be. It's interesting because, you know, so many times they tell you in church, and you know, I grew up in church, and they'll in different places, I guess outside of the church too, but they'll say, you know, that singles should not hang with married people, or married people shouldn't have, you know, a lot of single friends. But I think we have to ask more questions like, well, what is it that is your vision? What is it you want for your life? Because if I want to be married, I should be around people who are married so that I can see like this is the real, you know, and I don't have this fairy tale of what it's going to be, and I'm not prepared, and I just want the hashtag I's married now, and you know, the wedding dress, bae, hubby, my man, all that. Like I need to be able to sustain this, right?
Yes.
After everything is over, after the reception and all the cake and wine has been, you know, consumed, now you got to go home with each other.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to live together every single day.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was a person who was around married people most of my 20s and 30s, to be honest. And I was that third wheel. And I think that's how I learned a lot. I knew what I liked about the people that I was around and the stuff that I did not like. I knew what I could accept and what I could not accept through those experiences as a single woman, being around my married couple friends. And they also showed me, this is the biggest thing. You know, I tell people this all the time. The biggest thing I think I want this generation to understand is that marriage is work. And if you don't see it, if you've never been around it, if you don't know, it will be hard for you. It is not a fantasy. It is daily accepting the fact that you're working on something that's greater than yourself, and that you in this process will become better for it.
And it's a choice.
And it's a choice daily. Even with love, right? Because loving another human who has their own upbringing and their own thoughts and it's not an easy task, but once you get on the right path, it's amazing. It's better than being alone because that person is on the journey with you, and they're going to give you those things that you would have to get from like a friend who may be busy when you're single or not available, or sister, or, you know, all these folks that you got to kind of like, okay, I need to run this by someone. They're available to you now. And so that's the thing. They know who you are, and they're able to give you true not just what you want to hear, but real, true, authentic advice at that point.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about marriage, to me, is that it's definitely been a challenge when we had the times in which we were apart. But what kept us together, like I said, was, hey, including them, right? Like I included him in what's happening in my life here in Dallas. I included him in what's happening with the kids. And he did the same about his family. So we were together even though we were apart, right? So it's important to just communicate. Constant communication creates the vision that you want for your marriage. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that kind of led us right into the last question, which is that the advice. Well, it's not really a question, but just, yeah, like the advice, the most important advice that you would say for or give to singles who want to be married and they want to do it and they want to be successful. What would be that advice from you all?
My piece of advice I would probably give is, no matter how hard it is to be open, try to be as open as possible. And this is one thing I say to us men particularly. It's not easy for me because I know I have a hard time with that. She's just, she's broken out the jaws of life on me before, and really push me to open up.
yeah.
She always says, hey, don't do the surface stuff, babe. Go deeper. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'll, try to hold them back, but then she'll give me the cry a little bit. She's on her Barbara Walters for real. So she'll get it out of me. And I'll be like, I'm really not a crier like that. But she'll get it out of me. So, but the thing is though, like mainly for new husbands, prospective husbands, open up. Open up to your woman, open up about your pain, open up about your fears, open up about everything. You know what I mean? Anything that you possibly can, just try to get it out because we're dying at an alarming rate, and that's due to suppression.
Heart attacks and strokes.
Exactly. And being married, it does help because now you have this person that it can, they can be your sounding board. They're your best friend. They, have your back. They're not gonna go running to the streets and be like, my husband's nuts, because you know what I mean? You got to really just go ahead and just, embrace the friendship in your marriage. And that's pretty much what I would say, be open as possible. As difficult as it may be, just try.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. I think the differences of women and men is very evident when you get married. There are differences in the genders, what needs to, what you need to be aware of. I think for single women, some people call me harsh sometimes, but I would say, please work on yourself.
Yeah.
Marriage. Your husband's job is not to make you happy. And because we've been socialized, you see posters saying, happy wife, happy life. I think
see the word.
Yeah, it's too much for a man. He's got a lot, especially Black men in this society, right? We need to be aware of what they're going through. And I get that Black men have not always supported Black women in every area of our lives, but there are men out here who are good guys, and you can't give that same reputation or just like, oh, all men are this way. That's not a true statement. And so we need to be, I would tell single women, treat this individual as like you've never met them before. Never bring the baggage of what someone has done to you into a relationship. When you're starting to date, do not dump on a new guy all the things that a last guy did to you. It's very much not attractive, to be honest. And if you then told them all the things that happened, if they are a bad guy, sometimes they use that to their advantage and they use it against you. And so you want to be very careful in that when you present everything that you're, of course, come with, be it kids or that baggage, but present it in a way where they can see your heart and not present in a way that you're so bitter, right? And that you're hurt that you can't get over it. So that's some advice I always give my single ladies is like, yes, we know we've gone through things, but when you present to a man, I think one of the things that Johari told me when we were, I asked him, why did he feel like I was the one? he said, well, I knew that if I went overseas or if something were to happen to me, that you would be okay. That's what your husband is saying. That he doesn't need to be around for you to feel whole, or he needs to be around for you to feel like, you are, you're somebody. You need to feel that yourself. Become whole in yourself. That way you're able to be a helpmate to your spouse. The goal here for us was not to be so much traditional in that we wanted to create our own marriage, right? Be open. There's no need to say, okay, these are the things that women do and these are the things that men do. We're partners.
Right.
So whatever it is that needs to make it work, that's what we're coming to the table with. That day, maybe 80% him, maybe 20% me. Some days I'm at 90%, he's at 10%. We just want to bring both of ourselves to the table and get the things that we need to have done.
Right,
So,
right.
Remember that when you're single, work on yourself. This man is not going to come in and be this spectacular change to your life that if you don't yourself feel good about you, right?
Right.
Do that for yourself. And when you come together, like you said at the beginning, he's adding to you.
Mm-hmm.
Your cups are full. He's letting you overflow. He's bringing that overflow happiness. He's bringing that overflow stability. Be stable in your own right. Have your own money. Come with that, so that it's just an added piece when he's there. Right.
Right. No, I think you guys just hit the nail on the head with everything. It's so important. And then the more that you work on yourself, right? Because I always say, I feel like I was saying this before people were saying it, but it's not 50-50 because I'm a math girl, right? So, and a school girl. So I'm like, don't nobody want no 50, that's an F. Like, so you don't need to bring your 50 and my 50. No. We need to be 100. So you're showing up, you're whole and you're not overwhelming your partner with putting the burden on them to fix things that you should have fixed yourself, the things that you should have worked on before, and vetting properly that you have a person who will be able, when you're down, to pour into you, and you'll be able to do that for them. If they didn't start that way, they're not going to magically get some extra to pour into you when you get married, and I don't think that, people really think about it, but that's what this is for, think about these things beforehand. So I love it.
One thing I'll say, a lot of people have had this kind of, come up over the years. A lot of people find marriage as a solution, and that is not a solution. It is not an end all to any type of little, ailments that you might have as a person.
Trauma,
Traumas,
you have to really work on that yourself.
You got to identify it. Having to take the time. This is what I've always told people, like, hey man, look, learn how to be by yourself a little bit. Learn how to be by yourself. Learn how to just be within yourself, and then you can consider possibly bringing somebody else in your equation. You know what I mean? A lot of people just jump from one thing to the and just go and keep on going. And after a while, you got to get off that train. You got to stop and you got to sit and you got to just enjoy who you are, and that way, you can actually build yourself up.
You might look around and like yourself so much that you be like, I'm good.
I'm good by myself. Yeah.
I can have somebody I go, travel group or whatever and be good. And I think that might scare some people too, because we're so programmed of what it's supposed to be.
Social norms.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of social norms we got to throw out. A lot of our imposed traditions. They some of them they're just outdated. They're not up to the times of where we're at now. Yeah, where we're at now.
And they're hurting us.
They are hurting us in this day and time. And I think we're being critical of each other when we all are trying to get to the same goal. Men and women, we're trying to get to the same goal, right? So why are we fighting each other? And so if we find that we can get past, well, he needs to be this way and she needs to be this way. I'm not dealing with, she don't know how to cook every night. Okay, brother, well, I'm not cooking every night, or He doesn't need to, right? He don't need to pay for all your meals and
Right.
all these conversations I hear. It's just,
Y'all
it's
should
too
eat
much.
Chick-fil-A someday.
We are in a different time period, man.
Calm down, right? So if you had your own thing going on, you wouldn't even be worried because
Right,
you know,
exactly.
you wouldn't be
Mhm.
worried about that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's very important. Well, I'm just thrilled about the conversation. I feel like it was just so many good little nuggets in there, and so that's all of the questions that I have, and I am just thrilled. I'm excited about this season
Yeah.
because this is something that I had an idea about doing something in this arena when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't know where this came from, but we're gonna put it, put it in the back, on the shelf for a little while, and it's just beautiful to see it come full circle, and just
Yeah.
all the wonderful couples that will be on, this season, and I'm so glad that you all were a part of it, so thank you again. For
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
just want to say this is your calling. This is
Oh.
what you're supposed to be doing. And we appreciate the work you've been doing, especially for the Black community. But I know your vision goes outside of that. But just know that it's much needed. You need to
Yeah.
see happy couples. That's why
Yeah.
that was our vision, was we didn't see a lot of happy couples growing up. And we wanted to present well so that people wanted to get married. And but they saw the work too, right? They saw us maybe have a bad day. They
Right.
saw us maybe argue. They saw us, have a trip and we're having a blast and we got our friends with us, right? They see us with our single friends. They see us with our families and our kids. Like
Right.
it's holistic in this thing, and so like you got to see all aspects. And I feel like one of the things I would say is the older generation hit a lot of stuff, and we
Right.
didn't see a lot, so we had no idea. The first 14 of my years of my life, my parents were together, and I only saw the end of it when it was bad. And I wish I would have saw more of the good. And what did that
Right.
stick out? Or maybe it doesn't stick out. Some people say that the negative usually sticks out in our minds for whatever reason.
Right.
So maybe it was that. But I do remember the happy times. And those are the things that I really liked. They were actually happy and always laughing. And we had a great time as a family. So
And it shows you can have that balance too, because sometimes when you see it only one way, it's very hard, or you don't believe when it's good, in your own personal relationship that you can have it because you don't know what that's like. You're not familiar with it. You're like, I'm kind of familiar with this. So yeah, you spot on with that for sure.
Yeah.
Represent. So we're excited.
No, I love that. And that is a big thing too, because you do see all sides. Like I love that you mentioned that too about still hanging out with your friends and then your single friends too, whatever. And it's just like, I think because you guys kind of have the family approach, right? Where it's like your friends are your family.
Right.
So it just feels like it's a little small reunion, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Every time.
And it's never disrespectful. So I love that so much too. Well, I mean, this is an opportunity. I always let people, basically, big up whatever it is they're working on. So I know you're talking about your podcast and stuff like that, but you can share your social media.
Yeah. So my social media is Bless Sarah 1 on Instagram, and then on Facebook it's just Sarah Mason. And I would say that coming soon will be a podcast / blog that I'll be working on. My vision for that is really talking about everything from relationships to marriage to sports to just all the things that, celebrity talk, all the things that are happening in the world, politics, wherever it leads us, but and be able to really have those conversations. So if you follow me on Bless Sarah 1 on Instagram and then Sarah Mason on Facebook, at least when I get that going, I can give you everyone the new information. So
Yes, I'll be excited about that too, because you don't give it to them straight.
yes, we want a straight shooter, no chaser.
And Jahari?
Well, as of now, I am trying to put some things together in terms of just the automotive field. I'm trying to work on maybe starting to do a little bit more custom work eventually here in the future. If that pans out the way I need it to, then yeah, I'll be providing that information as well. But yeah, that's the route that I'm trying to take here.
What's your
Oh, sorry about that. So my handle is, or my Instagram is The Edgy Gentleman.
So it's at the Edgy Gentleman.
At the_edgy_gentleman_.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys again. So you guys want to make sure that you guys follow them and share this episode, share the channel, both channels, at B Bailey as well as the HBCU Lounge Network. So you can, check out our couples and all the value that they're able to bring to us. So thank you guys again. And to the audience, thank you for watching. And we will see you all next time.
all right?